Sup nerds, I'm Tom.
I'm Wes.
And I'm Aaron.
We're taking a look at Champions of Midgard by Grey Fox Games.
Woo!
I wish we had like party poppers or like
Air
air horns
horns
or something something to just annoy people in
Woo!
the comment section.
Woo!
You know? The main thing is it's Lords of Waterdeep, but with dice. Let's just get that out in the open, because that's really what it is. It is Lords of Waterdeep, but instead of collecting resources so you can complete quests, you collect dice so you can fight monsters. That is, if we were to really apples to apples it, that is the largest difference, and yet the thing that makes them the most the same.
And I think that's both the thing people like about this game the most, and simultaneously the least. Not like the same person, but either someone loves that
Right.
or someone hates that.
Because it's not that you're completely mathing it out. In Lords of Waterdeep, you can kind of say, well, I'm going to need this many turns, this many placements in order to complete these quests, unless this or this happens, unless, another player takes my thing, or like a building comes up that I can utilize, my plan is pretty much my plan. In here, you're just setting yourself up for the best chance to do the thing you want to do, not necessarily... well, that's not true. If you max out your dice and you have 8 dice and you only go and fight the troll, let's be honest, you're probably going to kill the troll. Yeah. But most often, you're just setting yourself up for the best position to do the thing, not to, guarantee yourself to do the thing.
And my view on it is, in Lords of Waterdeep, you can play a really boring game and win. You can take no chances. You can not do a lot of entry cards. You can just get a lot of money, buy a lot of resources, complete one type of quest over and over again, and just play really it's just a ball and I just got to keep it rolling. And if I can keep this machine going, I might win. I feel like this game has a lot more of that, I'm going to try this crazy thing and see if it works, and I'm going to try this crazy thing and see if it works. And you're a lot more likely to win or do better because of that, where in Lords of Waterdeep, even if it pays off, it still might not be that big a deal. If you get I want to get this 25-point mission and spend half the game working on it, you may get it and it's great, but then you're just caught up because you were so far behind catching up to that.
The only negative I will say about this, and again, I'm going to have to compare it to Lords of Waterdeep once more, but Lords of Waterdeep is a lot cleaner in the explanation. You're just look, there's not a lot of places to go. You go here, you get these things. You go here, you get quests. You spend these to get the quests. That's it. It's really straightforward. And here, what's wood for? If you want to go to this thing or if you want to buy a boat, why would I want to buy a boat when I can take this boat? Well, it's, everything kind of has a secondary explanation for it. It's still pretty simple, but the explanation is slightly clunkier.
The other thing I really like about this game, as opposed to Lords of Waterdeep, is I felt like you were a lot less locked out of options. Lords of Waterdeep, if you're that last player, there are times where you're just I guess I'll go down here and get 4 coins because there's no other place to get these resources. And it's I need white, clerics or whatever to complete my mission. There's nowhere to get them, so I'll just come here. I feel like there's a lot more options in this game just off the bat, not once there's plenty of buildings built. There's almost always something you can do that's beneficial. It may not be your first choice, but there's a lot less of that hopeless feeling of feeling they just blocked me out.
So when you do block people and you place your meeple and take an action, there's one that actually does benefit you the most the earlier you take it, is actually buying your extra meeple. And the thing about this game is when you buy that extra meeple, you're the only one that gets it that round.
Mm-hmm.
So it can be really powerful if you get it first round, you have enough gold to actually buy an extra guy, and then for the rest of the game you have an extra action you can take.
Now, you do have to pay more gold for being the first one, but honestly, it's almost always worth it. Anytime one person buys their extra meeple, everybody else then kind of feels obligated to follow suit, because especially when it's early on, that's a tempo gain that you're never going to catch up to.
And especially if you're playing a 4-player game and you're the 4th person to get your meeple, that means there's been now 4 turns that you have not gotten to use that additional meeple, because the 3 turns before you didn't have it, and the turn that you essentially spent it to buy it, so you don't actually have that one. So it's definitely a race to who can get the most money to buy it, but also because it's so expensive, everyone's I don't want to buy first. Ideally you buy second, really, because it's cheaper, but you still really get to use it for most of the game. You're not last round I could get it, but it's not really worth it at this point.
Yeah, I feel like there's kind of like a point, like round 6 is when just nobody's buying it.
Yeah.
You know what I
If
mean?
you haven't bought it, you're not buying it.
Same thing with buying your own ship. I mean, because then nobody can block you and they're worth victory points at the end. But ultimately, it's like if you're not buying it early enough or if you're not utilizing it, you're kind of wasting your time and your money.
Differing player abilities for all of the players in a worker placement game is a good mechanic, I feel, like especially for this one, because everybody has like a slightly different route they want to take to claim their victory.
Mm-hmm. And especially because there's the guy who can spend reroll tokens and not lose the 2 points, and then there's the guy who can go to the merchant ship for free.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes I'll be like, ooh, I want to go to the merchant ship, so now he's not getting that thing for free, so it's negating his power. Like that amount of mind gaming and not just strategy of what I'm going to be able to do. I'm not just trying to be the most efficient. I'm trying to mess up my other players, knowing what they have. Mm-hmm. That's very different from Lords of Waterdeep.
When you have your hidden role and nobody knows what you're up to.
Yeah, until someone plays like the second building and everyone's like, he's the builder. This is good.
I will say, I just had a blast playing this game. Every time I've played it, it's been fun, it's been exciting. You're just like rolling dice and you're attacking monsters and draugrs and trolls, and it's crazy. I love that the troll is like a semi-co-op almost, where there's like, well, somebody has to fight the troll. Are you going to fight the troll? Because I don't want to fight the troll, but if you're not going to fight it, I'm going to go fight it because I'd rather me waste my turn fighting it than have all these negative things happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So there's almost a co-op feel to that one aspect of it. Mm-hmm. And even just like every different place you go has such a different feel to it, you know? There's fighting these monsters, there's sailing down there that can just change so much, and you can really fit your playstyle to the game.
One of my big pluses of this game is my girlfriend will actually play it with me. It's simple enough that intro gamers can play it, but there's still, you can get complex and like what strategy you want to take. And, you know, the dice rolling kind of gives that little bit of luck to whoever's feeling lucky today, you know, could roll a whole bunch of attack and, you know, knock a monster out.
Now, I certainly have used this game, as I have Lords of Waterdeep, to introduce non-gamers into the gaming hobby. I mean, sometimes we'll do that with like social deduction games, but I really feel like this is like, look, this is what real games are. Mm-hmm. If you don't like this, then let's move no further, right? Mm-hmm. And now, again, we've compared it to Lords of Waterdeep a whole bunch, mainly because for a long time, Lords of Waterdeep was in all of our top 10s, really.
It was our go-to worker placement game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and one of our go-to games for a while, too. And then this game came along, and it made us highly, highly question how much more we want to play Lords of Waterdeep versus this. Like, it involves the dice, so there is that luck factor in there. So if you don't like that, okay, I'll understand it. But, again, you can mitigate that luck so much to where I'd say that not only are these games comparable, there's really no reason why you should own one over the other. I really think Champions of Midgard, much like Lords of Waterdeep, is an essential game for gamers to own. You should own both.
And in addition to all that, it's gorgeous. The map is like exciting and appealing, and there's like mountains and grassland and water and volcanoes, and there's monster, and the dice are really cool, and the cards have great artwork. It really pops. Like there's some games you walk by and you're like, oh, it looks cool. This game always has people looking at it because it just looks great. The expansion looks even better.
If you like what you heard, you should definitely check out the link in the description below and buy yourself a copy.
And while you're down there, don't forget to subscribe so you'll
never be bored.
We were gonna do a video comparing Champions of Midgard to Lords of Waterdeep.
This is it.
This is it, apparently.